Welcome to Being a Great Coach, to catalyze the greatness in others. Being a coach is a wonderful opportunity. It's an opportunity to make a difference for somebody else, to help them see things from a new and fresh perspective, to be able to unfold in their career and opportunities. And frankly, just like in sports, coaching is something that's valuable for people at any stage of their careers. So people at the top of their career can benefit from coaching as well as those who are rising in their career. And in fact, as I talk with many of the individuals who are at senior levels in their careers and encounter difficulties and challenges with their careers, it oftentimes strikes me that they could be really benefited by having a coach. Because it's not usually the issues about what they know or what their technical skills are. It's usually the things that they don't see about themselves, or the obstacles they don't address, or the things they just kind of set aside and let slide because they don't know how to grapple with them, that really make the difference in their career. So I hope you'll see the potential for coaching to be something powerful for you to do for people at all stages. And I want to go back to the discussion in the first video, the overview about being a great coach and a winning player, about how people can be coaches even if they're not more senior to somebody else. How can they do that? What are the techniques and skills that enable them to bridge those differences and to do that successfully? And how can you also apply that if you're dealing with people of different generations who have different outlooks, different orientations about what they're looking for? And that's what's really critically important. And so the most effective way to establish a foundation is to ask about the player's hopes. That, as we've highlighted, really kicks in their best brain thinking. It enables them to see potential for themselves where they may not have otherwise observed it. And you'll want to go deeper. Asking people why those hopes are important to them is a very helpful way to get them off of maybe a fixed idea about something they're looking for, and to see other potential. Every time you ask somebody why something's important to them, you actually multiply by a factor of 10 the potential solutions that they may have. So this is a very, very powerful way to be of help. It's also a key way for you to ground yourself as a coach in what's important to the player and where they're coming from, so that you're coaching them on helping them to get where they want versus imposing your own ideas and approaches on them, which might not fit for their interests and their objectives for their own career. So the second critical thing then is to serve as a generous listener. Now, a generous listener is somebody that not only listens attentively, but reflects back like a good mirror, helping the person see what their thoughts are and how they come across. Because many of us, when we're dealing with difficult issues or something we haven't confronted before, oftentimes talk to figure out what we think. So just by being a mirror to the other person so they can hear what their thinking is, you can be very helpful to them in their sorting through their thinking and their figuring out solutions and approaches. So now I want to step out for a moment and turn to a clip from the coaching session that I had with Jill, unrehearsed. So this is each of us making our best efforts for you to see how to put these steps into play of asking what someone's hopes are, why they're important to them, and being a generous listener in that process. So the first step here is to connect with your hopes. So tell me something about what your hopes are about advancing in your career. What are your aspirations? What are you hoping for out of that advancement?
You know, I think that's part of the reason why I think this would be helpful is to recognize where I want to take this. I guess that's where there's a nebulous line. I don't know what is next. I don't have a plan for where I want to be next. And I think that might be part of the issue is where can I advance and where can I take my skills? How do I envision my future and what is the end goal? What is, I guess, the next step? I'm not sure. So
you're looking for some clarity about how you can move forward.
Exactly.
And where this is leading.
Sure.
Okay, so clarity is an important thing to you. Are there other key hopes that you have?
I hope to recognize my resources and find out how to use my resources to my advantage, and what steps to take and what I need to do to get to an end goal.
Okay, okay. So clarity, resources, anything else that's especially important to you as a hope?
I can't think of anything else, no.
So let me just jot those down.
Thank you.
And the reason those hopes are important to you, as I'm hearing, is that this is all part and parcel of figuring out how you can take the experiences you've had and what your skills and abilities are and move forward.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
So the next thing that a coach can do to be very helpful to a player is to help the player identify and sort through what their concerns are. What's standing between them and realizing their hopes in a more complete way. And to figuring out, what's the most important thing in that path to address first. Many times people have so many things in their minds, so many concerns, so many obstacles, that they have a difficult time starting. If you can help them figure out by your questions what's the critical concern that they have, you're going to help them on a pathway to identifying the real issues for them, the issues they need to deal with now. And then once that's done, you have a very valuable opportunity to have them identify how they've dealt with situations like that in the past. We each have a lifetime of experiences, and oftentimes we have experiences where we've dealt with similar situations before. And if you can, by your questions, encourage the player to think about how he or she has successfully dealt with similar circumstances, might be outside of work, might be in a community situation or at home, you're helping them tap into what works for them, into something that they know they can build on. And that's very, very powerful. Very, very rarely, people will not have something come to mind. They may be blocking some of the successes that they've had because they're just so overwhelmed by the concerns. So you might shift in that case over to asking them, well, where have you seen success stories elsewhere? And where has that been effective? So the next thing that a coach can do very helpfully is to encourage growth by the player and to help the player identify, where do they see they will need to grow to pursue the hopes that they have and to overcome these concerns and obstacles that they face. Sometimes that's things that they need to do, but oftentimes, even more powerfully, it's how they need to be. What are some of the inner qualities? If you watch the full video session with Jill and her coaching conversation, you'll see that she discovered that really one of the most important things for her was persistence. It wasn't so much what she needed to do, is having the persistence to follow through and do it. So similarly, you can be helpful in guiding the person that you're coaching to see what is it that they're going to need to do, how they're going to need to grow, and how they can move forward. And then even more importantly, to have them identify, well, what resources do they already have? We've discovered in the research and work we've done in coaching and in figuring out what helps people move forward in their careers, that oftentimes people dramatically underuse the resources they already have. So before adding on more resources, what resources do they have, and are they using them as fully as they might? And again, the questions in the Talent Catalyst conversation give you a framework for inquiring about that with the person that you're coaching, and to do that in a successful and productive way. So the next opportunity for a coach is to offer stories and ideas. And I think many volunteer coaches love this part of coaching because it's a way for them to share something about their experience. It's a way to connect with the person that they're coaching. And all that is really good and very valuable. And there's some important things to know about how to do that in an effective way. Because if we jump in with stories and ideas of our own before the players had a chance to offer his or her own thoughts and ideas about how to approach things, we're really hijacking their story. We're making it our story rather than their story. And so a critically important thing here is to ask first for what ideas does the person have? What circumstances do they see could apply? How could they be tapping resources? And then to offer stories and examples where needed to complement that. Now, the interesting thing that I found in coaching for 20 years is that when I exercise that kind of restraint in offering ideas and stories, it really redounds to the benefit of the player. Because oftentimes the idea of a story or an illustration or example that comes up for me when the person first mentions their topic or some of the concerns that they have or some of the options that they're looking at, etc., those ideas that come to my mind, I find if I stick with the player, they find similar or more relevant stories and ideas and approaches themselves. And the value for them of doing that is that they retain the power of the story themselves. They have a storehouse of experiences that they can draw on from themselves versus having to lean on or tap mine. So I encourage you to do that. In fact, if you watch the full coaching session that I had with Jill, it was 70% of the way through the coaching session, it was 39 minutes, before I offered a specific story or idea. Why? Because she was rolling. She was really identifying, what's critical, and in hearing the reflection back that I was doing with the generous listening, she was discovering the answers for herself. And it was wonderful to see that happen. And so I invite you to think about that as you're offering stories and ideas. Do it with permission, because it keeps the player in charge and it enables you to enjoy observing them as they grow and they develop their ideas themselves. Another critical element for a coach is to invite a stretch or a leap. Many people are waiting for something else to happen for them to move forward, because they'd have to shift out of their comfort zone. They'd have to do something that would be different. As a colleague of mine said, if you want to go from Los Angeles to New York, you can't wait for all the lights to turn green before you start. There's a lot of things about our journeys that we can't predict and we can't control, and we can't get all lined up to make them without any interruption or without any obstacles. So asking the person that you're coaching, well, what's a stretch that you'd like to make? Something that would move you out of your comfort zone but not cause you undue stress, that would enable you to move forward. What would that be like for you? How could you begin to have a taste of what you'd like to have? How could you start to enjoy now something towards the fulfillment of the hopes that you have, rather than always having them out there somewhere distant in the future? So this is a wonderful opportunity to just see how they respond. You're not requiring them to stretch, you're inviting them to. And that's a powerful place to be for them and for you in helping them. Finally, another key principle of coaching is to prompt action. That's the core element of this catalytic idea. A catalyst is in chemistry is something that precipitates a response, accelerates a result, enables something to move forward more quickly and effectively. And that's what you're doing as a powerful coach. So closing out your coaching conversation with, well, what actions would you like to take? And how could you get started? And when might you like to see a result to happen is going to be critically important, and something that will help prompt the person to be successful. That, and also then asking them, well, how have they found it effective for them to translate intentions like these into results? Everybody has some way that they've been successful in doing that, and you have a great opportunity to accomplish that. So let's turn now in the video of the coaching session with Jill, where I ask her what actions she'd like to take, and you can hear what her response is and how some additional things unfold in what's next.
So we're on to step 9 here, which is to target some concrete actions. So what forward-moving actions would you enjoy taking now towards realizing your hopes?
Probably making a plan. Sitting down with you is probably the step 1 that I've taken on this journey, though I know it's probably never ending, and knowing that I'm going to constantly be evolving and constantly be learning. I guess the action would be to make a plan. And though I think my mind is set on having an end goal, I think talking to you and knowing now that maybe it's just I'm still in the exploration phase of it, being okay with exploring to figure out where I do want to go, and like how I can take what I have and turn it into something bigger.
Sure. Okay. Would you be interested in some additional ideas that are coming to my mind as
Oh,
I'm thinking about
absolutely.
your hopes and
Yes,
what you're trying
please.
to accomplish? Two things come to mind that you might consider as some actions on this. One is, I don't know if you've taken the opportunity to jot down what are the characteristics of situations that you love working in.
Okay.
You know, what kinds of problems or challenges or opportunities have you enjoyed working with, so that you can talk to other people and say, hey, these are some of the things that I've really enjoyed doing. I'm looking for more things that are like this, that have X, Y, and Z characteristics.
Yeah.
You know, can you help me find them?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so I think that can begin by you defining what those characteristics are. And then I think, as you've been describing, is in addition to the coaching session here and getting a plan and exploring, is really getting out there and letting people know what you want.
Yeah.
And to say, hey, I'm looking for this kind of opportunity. This is what I'd like to bring to it. This is the sort of roles that I'm interested in playing.
Sure.
Do you have a sense of that at this juncture, of what those kinds of opportunities are that most excite you? I mean, is it the analytical side of things? Is it the leadership part of it? Is it the getting other people involved? Is it sort of putting the product together yourself?
I feel like it's pulling a team together and solving a problem. I really also enjoy the leadership aspect of it. I just went through a leadership course, and it was really inspiring to see what can be done with a group of leaders, let alone just becoming one and helping a team along. I feel like I really enjoy that.
So I hope you saw in that clip how Jill had translated her initial hopes into some real opportunities for her to take action, how her thinking has evolved, how she sees a pathway and a plan that can enable her to move forward and to take action. And all that happened within 39 minutes. And that's the sort of thing that I'd like you to enjoy as a coach, is the ability to make a difference. And hopefully you'll be even more successful. The important thing to know as a coach is it is not all on you for this to be successful. If you don't have a great coaching conversation with a player, you know, that doesn't mean that the player is a loser or that you're an ineffective coach. You may have helped plant a seed for that player that may take a while to germinate, might not all come out in the conversation. And so I'd ask you to be gentle with yourself as a coach. You're volunteering, you're helping others to move forward with their careers, and realize that you're beginning a process of helping to stimulate, helping to catalyze the greatness in others. There are other resources that are available to you. Perhaps you've already watched the introductory video on being a great coach and a winning player. That helps lay the foundation for what we're trying to do in one-on-one coaching. There's another video on being a winning player, how to take charge of your talent. What are some of the key things for a player to do to get value out of a coaching session and out of the resources that are available to be successful in local government? And I invite you, even if you're only a coach or see yourself only in that role, to also watch the one for a player. See what are the issues that they're confronting. See some of the things about how they might approach this. And you know, the most powerful way for you to strengthen your skills as a coach is to actually be the player in another coaching conversation. Ask somebody else to ask you the questions that are outlined in the Talent Catalyst conversation script for a coaching session. Have them run through it and see how it works for you, how it plays out. When you have that experience, you'll have great empathy for the people that you're coaching on what it's like to be coached, and you'll get benefit for yourself. And maybe your topic for the coaching session will be, hey, how can I be a great coach? And maybe you'll have some concerns about that. Maybe you'll have some resources and opportunities. You could have a whole conversation about that in itself, or whatever topic you pick. Make it real for yourself. Have the experience of being both a great coach and a winning player. And finally, you can watch the Coaching in Action, the full-length 39-minute coaching conversation, to get a feel for how such a conversation might unfold. Now, obviously, that's under the circumstances and conditions of a public interaction that's going on videotape. So it has its own sort of characteristics to it, but it was a live and unrehearsed opportunity to give you a feel for coaching, and I hope you benefit from it. And in closing, I want to acknowledge the legacy grant from CPO, the Continuing Education for Public Officials organization, that has made these one-on-one coaching videos and materials available for you. And the resources that we tapped from Take Charge of Your Talent, 3 Keys to Thriving in Your Career, Organization, and Life, from which the models for coaching, the research on what makes coaching effective, and how to translate that into something that you can do with and for one another comes from, and that you can use and apply in your organizations and across the profession.